You build a dashboard. The data is correct, the visuals are clean, it loads fast, it does exactly what was asked for. But still nobody uses it. The executives still ask for Excel exports. The management meeting still runs on manually built slides. Your dashboard sits there technically perfect, practically invisible. Well, this video is about why that happens, and it's probably not the reason you think. Let me describe how most BI work happens. I've seen this pattern in over 1,500 projects across 35 years, and it's almost always the same. Someone from the business comes to you. The CFO needs a margin analysis. The sales director wants a pipeline overview. The board wants a monthly report. And you do what you were trained to do. You go to the data, you check what's available in the ERP, the CRM, the data warehouse, you build the pipeline, you model the data, you create the dashboard, bottom up. Data first, build first, then put something on screen and hope it's useful. I call this hope analytics. Both sides are hoping. You're hoping the dashboard answers the right questions. The business is hoping you understood what they actually need, and neither side has a way to check until the dashboard is done and nobody uses it. Well, this isn't a failure of skill. Your SQL is fine, your data model is solid, your Power BI work is good. It's a failure of process. You're building the visible part, the dashboard, without ever working through the invisible part. What decision is this supposed to support? Who is making that decision and in what situation? What information do they actually need in that moment? What should they be able to do after looking at this? Well, those questions never or very seldom get asked. Not because you're lazy, because there's no framework that makes you ask them. There's no step in your process where this happens. So you build what you can with what you know, and you hope. If you work in BI, whether you're the head of data, a Power BI developer, a controller who got handed the reporting thing, or a one-person analytics team in a mid-sized company, and you have ever delivered something technically solid that nobody ended up using, this is for you. Here's what 35 years of BI projects have taught me. The reason most dashboards don't get used has nothing to do with the dashboard itself. It has to do with everything that happened or didn't happen before the first pixel was placed on the screen. Think about how a BI use case lives from beginning to end. It starts with a business needs. Someone needs better visibility, faster answers, clearer information. It ends, or it should end, with people actually making different decisions and taking different actions because of what you build. In between, there's a whole chain of steps. Understanding the real business question, understanding who will use this and in what situation, clarifying what information is actually needed, designing the answer before building it, and then, and this is where almost everyone stops, making sure it actually gets embedded into how people work. Most BI teams do one, maybe two of those steps. They jump from business need straight to build. Everything in between gets skipped, and everything after build gets ignored. That's not a design problem. That's a lifecycle problem. You're covering 20% of the journey and wondering why the other 80% doesn't work. What would it look like if you had a framework that covered the whole journey? We spent the last 35 years developing exactly that. We call it Decide. It's 6 steps that take a BI use case from the first business question all the way through to the people actually using it to make better decisions. Let me walk you through this quickly. Not to teach you the whole thing in 5 minutes, but so you can see the shape of what's been missing. Discover. Before you build anything, you identify where better intelligence will create the most business value. Not the CFO wants a dashboard. Where in the business will better visibility actually move the needle? Engage. You sit down with the real people who will use this, not their manager, not their department head, them, and you understand their situation. What decisions do they make? How often? Under what pressure? What information do they reach for today? This step alone changes everything because suddenly you are designing for a real person in a real moment, not for an abstract the business. Clarify. You translate what you learned into precise questions. Not show me the margins. What specific questions need to be answered? What signals would tell them something needs attention? What comparisons make the numbers meaningful? Actual versus plan versus last year versus forecast? Illustrate. Before you write a single line of code, you sketch the answer. On paper, on a whiteboard, you show the user. When you open this, you'll see this. Does this answer your question? And you iterate until it does. This costs nothing and saves months. Develop. Now you build. And because you've done the first 4 steps, you know exactly what to build and for whom. Your SQL, your data model, your pipeline work, and it's the same technical skill you already have. But now it's pointed in the right direction. Embed, the step everyone forgets. How does this change the Monday meeting? Who looks at this, when, and what do they do with it? If you don't design the process around the tool will gather dust every time. 6 steps. Discover, engage, clarify, illustrate, develop, embed. Decide. Most BI teams only do step 5, and they wonder why it doesn't work. This was the 4th and final video in this series. In the first, I showed executives the profit hiding in their data that nobody can see. In the second, the decisions being made on gut feel because the right information isn't in the room. In the third, why the barrier to BI has collapsed and companies of any size can now afford it. And in this one, I wanted to talk to you, the people who actually built this stuff, because you're not the problem. You've been working without a framework that connects what you build to what the business actually needs. And this framework exists, and it's the Decide framework. And in the next series of videos, I'm going to walk you through it, step by step. Each step of Decide in detail with real examples, so you can start applying it to your own work. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you want the complete framework now, I wrote the entire book about it. It's called Decide, link in the description. My name is Feliks Golenkos. I spent 35 years helping mid-sized companies turn their data into profit. And I'll see you in the next series.